My name is Martin Joroge. I'm a programs officer with the Kenya Organic Agriculture Network. And today we are doing a bit of sampling, water sampling. We are trying to measure the level of chemical residues within the river water. We are doing 4 samples per river. 2 water samples and then 2 sediment samples. We are calling them replicates, the first and the second replicate. So the process is relatively simple. First of all, you take your jar, your water jar or your container. You have to make sure it's clean. What we do, we clean it using the water, using the river water, since we're taking the sample from there. So the first thing, you have to identify your sampling locations. You scout the river regime, you see where the river kind of slows down, and then from that point you now start sampling. So the methodology states that first of all you approach your sampling site from downstream. That means that you're not interfering with the water or causing any disturbances within the water since at the point of sampling. So you have to, the procedure to clean your jars is you dip your jar head first. The mouth has to face within the water. Then you scoop a bit of water, you shake it, and then you pour it. You are facing downstream. So every process, you do it, you repeat it 3 times for the water sampling jar as well as the sediment jar. For you to actually take a good water sample, you repeat the same process. The mouth of the jar has to face within the water. There's going to be water bubble within the jar, and then once it's at the right depth, you make it face upstream, and then you scoop out the water. Before you seal the top of the cup, make sure the water reaches up to the shoulders of the jar, doesn't reach the neck. This leaves a bit of airspace in between, so that the ones who are doing the analysis might have a bit of room to shake the sample, and any sediments which are lodged within, they can be able to actually be poured out. So for the sediment collection is a bit different, but the same process in terms of cleaning the jar is identical to the water sample jar. But for the sediment, you select a location where there's a fine tilth of sediment. This is not sand, neither is it rocks. You find a place where you can find that fine material within the river. Once you locate that spot, you use the same process. You dip the jar head first in the water, and then you try and scoop out as much soil as possible, as much of the sediment as possible, and then you seal the jar while you're still inside the water. You seal the jar while you're still inside the water, sealing in what you've just scooped out. For the water and the sampling jars, for the water and the sediment samples, we label them appropriately. Our sampling, it goes by the river you are sampling, as well as the sample, the replicate. Is it replicate 1 or replicate 2? Yeah, for the second replicate, you have to take it a few meters upstream because you've already disturbed the present location for the first sample. So you repeat the same process. You have to clean your jars the 3 times while pouring downstream. So you come to the labeling. The labeling, we label them with permanent markers. The first, you label it with a permanent marker, and then you seal it on top with a clear tape. So for our samples, we are taking the geolocation, we are taking all the GPS coordinates as well as the meters above sea level. We are taking notes dealing with the weather, what type of activities are going around where you are taking up the sample. We are mostly focusing on areas with high agricultural productivity, because we know that these areas they have to use these agrochemicals. At least most of them use these agrochemicals. The reason why we chose Kirinyaga is that from our earlier survey we saw that this area actually sprays a lot, and their spraying prevalence is in the month of July, and today we are in the 20th of July. So after we collect the samples, there are 4 samples from one river. We load them up in the cooler box. It will keep them cold up until the time which we deliver them to Crop Nuts Limited. They are the ones who are going to do the analysis, the sediment and the water sample analysis. So since the time these samples will be delivered tomorrow early morning, but they are going to be kept cold before they are actually, during that whole duration, so that nothing is lost in the process. Thank you and good day.